So how did this all start?
Well,
That led to
I
your name?
was MOTHICA. The name came way before the music. So it was like when I was in high school, in my debauchery, bad teenager years, doing bad things. I had a sleepover, and we would like stayed up all night, like a tent in my backyard, my parents' backyard. And I remember like seeing these moths running into a lamppost. And at the time, you know, I'm like depressed, I'm like suicidal and stuff. And I'm like, I feel like I was a moth in a past life because they're nocturnal.
You identified with
Yeah, and they're like self-destructive.
Do you think you had that epiphany or that thought because you were high or because it was legit?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like something that I would think of when I was stoned.
Yeah. I wouldn't be thinking I was a moth in a past life completely sober. But, you know, I do have a kinship to them. And like, you know, butterflies is like, you know, everyone loves butterflies.
Yeah.
But moths were always like the underrated, like, you know, dingy color.
The gutter butterflies.
Gutterflies.
Gutterflies.
Never heard of that. So my friend, she wanted to be a mortician. And so we'd like do a little dress up and like wear black lipstick and stuff. And she's like, I'm Gothica, you're Mothica. So I started going by that on like Instagram and Twitter and before I made music. And when I made music, I was like, I need a name. And I tried a bunch of different names. And Mothica was already like what I had. And like conveniently, I do love moths.
Yeah. Here we go. Good morning. It's early morning here in Sydney. I'm still kind of waking up. As my production team always asks me to please don't do these videos outdoors because of the noise and lighting. And I took one look at this spot here at this house we've been renting for the last 2 months, and no, this is where it's happening. I mean, look at this. How can I not send a greeting to you from here? It is our last day here in Australia this time for this visit. Daisy and I have been here for 2 months while I've been down here working on The Voice, and it's been one of the best times we've ever had. My love affair with Australia goes back to when I was 12. Bless my father. It was his birthday today, actually. My dad always wanted to come to Australia, so when I was 12 years old, he packed me and my mom up, and we came to Australia in 1977. For a month, we went everywhere. And that began my love affair with Australia. And I started coming back here on my first tour back in 87, 88. And I think this is my 17th visit to Australia in my life. And I have friends here, made some new friends this time. It was just an incredible 2 months. And I'm looking forward to going home, but I also could easily just stay here. It's just, if you ever get a chance to come to Australia, do it. I know it's a long way for Americans and for you Europeans as well, but it's worth it. It's really worth it. And I want to say thanks to anybody that I bumped into at the beach or in a cafe. People are so friendly here. They come up and they just start up a convo with you, and I love Aussies. I always have, always will. So yeah, incredible 2 months here in Australia, but heading home today. This Friday, I have a new single dropping called Forget About the World. I wrote it with my boys, Lucas, Brandon, and Jesse. And Lucas produced it, and I'm very excited about it. We're going to be doing some promo for it, but Friday is drop day. Forget About the World. And me and my boys are singing on it, performing on it, but it's my single, but we wrote it together. And we did that once before, a couple years ago, with a song called Days to Remember. But this new one is, I I'm so in love with the song. I hope you guys like it. And it drops this Friday, so check that out. My guest today on Stories to Tell, now to business. So my guest today on Stories to Tell is a wonderful singer-songwriter named MOTHICA. And I really became aware of MOTHICA's music after I met her. So here's the deal. A couple years ago, I was strongly encouraged by some business acquaintances that I get on to TikTok, that I engage, that I create an account, that I start posting on TikTok. And I was like, no, I'm done with that stuff. Like, no, not another one. Not doing it. It's not enough time. I don't care. So I went kicking and screaming, and they just stayed on me. And finally, MOTHICA and I have a mutual friend who I work with, Ian, and he said, listen, I'm going to bring my friend MOTHICA over to your house. She'll show you how the app works. She'll take you through it. And if you still don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. So I was like, all right, fair enough. So MOTHICA came to my house with Ian, and we spent the afternoon kind of hanging out. And then she's very engaged on social media, especially TikTok. She's got a huge following, and she's really good at it. And she's funny and creative. So she just gave me some ideas and tips, and she was so cool, and I just loved being around her. She's got such a great energy. And then when she left, I did a deep dive into her music, and I became a massive fan. I think she's one of the most talented people out there. She tours all over the world. She's doing really well. She's got a really successful career going. But I just think she's so gifted, and I love her music so much. And I wanted her to be on the show. For those of you who don't know MOTHICA's music, you now will. You'll get to know her. And you should definitely go check out her music on streaming platforms everywhere. We had a really great chat at my house. And so yeah, my guest today on Stories to Tell is the one and only MOTHICA. Download the episode, subscribe to Stories to Tell. Let's keep this thing going because I'm having a ball talking to some amazing people. So here we go. Episode number whatever it is. Me and my guest, MOTHICA, on Stories to Tell. Hi, MOTHICA.
Hi.
Look what I made you.
This is gorgeous.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Eyes.
Oh no, 7 years.
This is a mocktail, a Virgin Paloma.
Yes.
One of my favorite cocktails.
I don't think I've ever had a real Paloma.
It's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
You never had a real Paloma?
No,
Did you used to drink tequila when you drank?
tequila with lime and salts.
I feel like you were, in your drinking days, you were more of a purist. Less cocktail, more...
More alcoholic. Yeah, so more like
Yeah.
get it in.
Yeah.
You know, nothing fancy. But I did like old fashioned.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful drink. Negronis?
Never had that really.
So we have that in common because well, so far I don't think that I am an alcoholic, so far, but I love to drink. But part of the reason I never have a hangover, even if I overindulge, is that I never really drink drinks like this.
Yeah.
This is just for the show, show.
Like, because it's sweeter, you think
Yeah, but if you go to a bar, it's just those cocktails are full of sugar.
Yeah.
The mocktail I made you has simple syrup, but it's keto simple syrup. Here, show us where's the bottle? Do we have the bottle? Look at this. This is a good endorsement. 0 sugar simple syrup, and not any sucralose or bad ingredients. Is made with monk fruit, which is all natural. So I'm a big fan of the wholesome yum.
Now, are monk fruits made by monks? That was a joke. That was a terrible
Really?
joke.
Did you really go there?
Yeah. But I was just thinking the last drink I ever had, because I, stopped drinking in 2019 on the date. So St. Patrick's Day is 5 years I haven't drank.
So what was your last drink? And did you know it was your last drink?
No, I didn't know it was my last drink, but it was a terrible gin and tonic.
Shit.
And I was so mad because I had just bought a giant bottle of Bullet bourbon, but I would hide it from myself to, try to, because I was trying to stop drinking. And then after like a week of not drinking, I found it.
Oh.
And then I had to sadly pour it down the drain, and the smell of it, it's like, oh.
Were you struggling at that time when you, struggling from withdrawals of alcohol?
No, I didn't really have a lot of maybe I had physical withdrawals. I definitely had like panic attacks and like disassociating things where like I would still try to go to bars and not drink, but I'd be talking to people and I would be like, it would be really like surreal and weird because I wasn't used to just being like 7 drinks in. And that's when I started doing like bringing a little like disposable, or like I brought a little film camera to bars. So then at least I would have something to do.
Yeah.
Or I'd bring like candy.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, when they stop drinking, they just get really into candy.
Well, you're replacing the...
Yeah.
Yeah. Was there a singular moment where you went, I gotta be sober?
Oh, there was a lot of events of like me knowing I had a problem with drinking, but I think I knew I had a problem with drinking even when I was in high school.
Oh, yeah.
Because I would like really romanticize the like writers of like drinking whiskey.
Yeah.
And I was like 16, 17. I would drink whiskey and I would like write on
Hemingway.
piano. Yeah. Or like write poetry. And really,
I bet Emily Dickinson probably drank whiskey.
Probably.
Yeah.
And that was so cool, but I would do it like secretly. And then, moved to New York when I was 18, which was a very great place to be an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Because and also being in music and in art school, because I went to Pratt Institute for art and web programming too. But bars are open till 4 a.m. there. And so I'd go hang out with my friends, be all like, presentable. And then I would go to a local bar where I didn't know anybody. And that's when I would get like really drunk. And to the point where it's like my debit card was always at this bar. Like I'd be like, where's my card? Oh, gotta go to the Abbey. It doesn't exist anymore. It was torn down, but in New York. But
were you sick? Would you get sick? Were you always hungover? Did you start drinking in the morning?
It was kind of like a day on, day off type of thing. I'd like drink so much. The next day I'd be so hungover that I would just order Thai food, have a bodega sandwich in my bed from the night before, chips are everywhere. And then I would take a full day off, be like, never gonna do this again, do it again. But
were you still prolific creatively when that was happening?
I was like making a lot of music, but I think the lyrics they were more like I started writing way more honestly in sobriety.
Oh.
Like all my lyrics before were so metaphorical. But I listened to some old demos that were just really sad. Like I had a song called like I Let Myself Down Again. Probably wrote that hungover, It's like it's just really beating myself up over it. And I also couldn't comprehend why I couldn't just have a drink. And didn't want to believe that like it's a disease or addiction or whatever. Because I'm like read books, tried everything to like be like just have one.
But you now understand that it's not your fault, right?
Yeah. And like my dad was an alcoholic and he's sober now. So I definitely was around that and saw that. And it runs in my family. But I was just like, I can think my way out of this.
Yeah, of course.
But
especially when you're that age.
So I stopped drinking at 24. Yeah, some of the low moments were like peeing myself.
Oh.
Yeah. As an adult.
Yeah, that's no fun.
Not really fun. Woke up in an alleyway once at my college and I got a ticket by one of those little Segway cops. And I was so mad at the Segway cop. I don't remember what he looked like. So every time I'd see a Segway cop, I would be like, I hate you.
Fuck that guy, yeah.
So you get like written up for the school. And then I think it's funny that like, well, I also went to the psych ward because I would be a depressive drinker where I'd get really like suicidal thoughts or self-harm. And
in preparing for this, I did, some homework and research and saw, you've been really open about that. And I just want to be sure that I got this right. So you really feel that for lack of a better term, your mental health struggles at that time were a result or fueled by, not a result of alcohol, but definitely fueled by it in a bad way?
Well, I think I was coping with, because I was told I had depression when I was 13, major depressive disorder. And I really didn't want to believe that either, because I was like, I don't want to label myself. It's like, no, I don't,
Yeah.
And so, but then I knew when I drank, I'm more outgoing. But then also the flip side is like, then I also can sometimes be really sad or really mean, or like, that's when I'll notice people have a problem if their personality changes so much when they drink. So it was a way for me to just like be social around people, because my default depression state is like stay in bed all day and do nothing.
Were you, at 13, were you writing already? Were you already like writing poetry or songs or?
Yeah, I mean, I was more of a visual artist, so I was always like drawing, illustrating.
Oh, and do those reflect your state of mind?
Oh yeah, I was drawing like weird like skulls and sad little quotes, and like I wanted to be a tattoo artist even at that age. It's funny that like I went to the psych ward, from a drinking binge I was on. Like really, really bad. Like I stabbed myself in the leg. Really bad. Because I thought, I can't tell anyone I have a problem.
Were you alone?
Yeah. And alcohol wasn't working anymore. I kept drinking. It was like almost like I couldn't get drunk.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I can't just tell people I want to go to rehab. I should do something drastic. But I really like thought it out.
You wanted to like cause an intervention.
Yes. And so my roommates came in, and then I was really embarrassed because it like really wasn't a bad, it was just like less than half an inch. Like I didn't really commit to that. And I thought, I'll be sent to some fancy rehab. I thought that's how it worked. No, I'm going to a public mental health facility in New York, in Bushwick.
Don't they call it a 5150 or a something?
Yeah.
Like yeah.
And, I was in the waiting room around like people who like were much more severely like going through psychosis, where I was like having a conversation with a guy, and I was like, I really don't think I should be in here because I sobered up. And he was like, yeah, me neither. I called the cops and told them like, I hear the metallic sounds in the ceiling and the rats are controlling the government. And I was like, oh.
He didn't think he should be in there either.
Yeah. And I was just like midway combo, like, wow, okay, I'm a lot more sane. And I convinced the doctor to let me leave instead of admitting me.
Yeah.
So I was only there for like 13 hours. But like,
so it sounds to me like, instead of like, to me that, in the seconds that I had to absorb that, it just sort of like instinctively made me think, that's proof that it was the addiction, it was the alcohol that needed to be treated, and not necessarily your sanity.
Yeah, and also another thing is I was, been on and off antidepressants since I was a teenager, but I wasn't, they say not to drink on them, and I was, and that can also heighten your like suicidal thoughts. So like that was a terrible decision. But the thing I always joke about is like, I went to the psych ward, had this like, cry for help. But I kept drinking after that. It was only this one night that I think really sold me that I had to stop drinking. And it was because I embarrassed myself at a party where I literally started freestyle rapping and made the person at the party play beats for me so I could rap. And that like humiliation the next day of like, Oh no.
It was like you were Elaine dancing.
Yeah. And like I left my purse there. Okay, I haven't seen that.
Oh, you don't know that
what
reference?
is. No.
Seinfeld. It's like a
Yes.
classic where Elaine, the character, like everybody's dancing and she busts into the weirdest contorted dance where
Yeah.
everybody like goes quiet and she never lives it down.
Yeah. And I was visiting LA when that happened. So I'm around all these musicians and I knew I wanted to move to LA. So I freestyle rapping at a party. I remember I told a bunch of strangers like the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to me. And then like I left my purse there and just the shame of having to go get my purse
Yeah.
and then being like, oh yeah, like just them all
Remember
knowing
last
so
night
much.
when I was freestyle rapping?
And there's recordings of it on my phone
Oh.
that I will never listen to.
Yeah.
Maybe one day when I'm brave.
Yeah.
But like that humiliation of like, and I'm pretty sure I was using a beer bottle as a microphone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's when I was like, if I want to move to LA and meet people, I need to stop drinking.
Yeah.
So then I did, moved here 6 months before the pandemic.
Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. Let's.
And when I was a child. No.
I do want to shift gears because
Yes. Fun things.
No, and thank you for talking about that.
Yeah.
Because it's like I really believe in seeing some of the other interviews you've done and other people who are so open about that topic. I absolutely believe you're helping people every time you talk about it.
Thank you.
So cheers to that.
Yeah.
I want to thank you because we met once before in this house when this room was different. And this will segue into, not to say the word segue, because I know you have a problem with that.
Not the segue cop.
This will segue into my next question. But you came over here because I finally said, okay, I guess I have to get on TikTok. I was against it. I'm an old guy. Like, why am I even doing this? There's no point. And so our mutual friend Ian, who I was working with when he was at a different company back then, and he was the guy who was in charge of wrangling artists on the label to get on TikTok. And he said, I have a friend and she's really good at it. And that's when I discovered your music. But I really didn't, at that time, I didn't really have a minute to really listen. And then you came over here and you were so gracious and so patient with me and showing me like little hacks and little things and suggestions and stuff. And I thought, she's so cool, very sweet. And then I was into it. And then a few days later, and of course, you were my first follow. When I joined TikTok, you were my first follow. And then I started listening to your music. And I gotta tell you, I've been so looking forward to this particular episode because I am such a fucking fan.
No way.
I'm really excited about your new stuff, the new visual album.
Thank you.
But I want to talk. I don't necessarily want to geek out too much because I think there are certain people that want to hear some of the, behind the curtain stuff. But as a songwriter and as a producer and as a musician, to hear such consistent, great songwriting, but also for you to have figured out your sound in a way it's hard to explain because stylistically you are doing this.
Yes.
But it all works. Part of it is that your voice is the thread.
My very limited vocal range.
Don't sell yourself short because your voice is very compelling.
Thank you.
Very compelling. And I think you're a really good singer.
Thank you.
All I know is what I hear, and I've seen some live stuff too. You really don't sell yourself short as a singer. I love your singing.
Oh,
but the thing that really kind of blew my mind when I started I'm a credits junkie, is that you work with so many different people.
Yes.
And that's the thing that I think is really unique about you. If you had the same producer on everything, then one could say, well, it's the team of it. Or in some cases, it's like, oh, well, the producer is sort of like steering the ship in terms of sound and style. But you work with an array of different talented people, but you must, I can tell you're sort of humble, but you must steer the ship to make it so consistent working with all these different people, because it's just, no matter who you're working with, every song is interesting lyrically and not stuff that you hear every day. It's personal. It's poetry, but it's like the most amazing songs are the ones where people get really personal, right?
Oh, very vulnerable.
But musically, it's just ear candy. It's so catchy and pleasing to listen to, even the stuff that's harder.
Yeah.
So I would not rave about you and say I was a huge fan. My son over here can attest to this.
That's so sweet.
Oh
my,
I'm such a fan.
You. No, I didn't, I did pay you to say all that, so I appreciate.
Well, the Venmo cleared.
Yeah, so the Venmo was
So that leads
earlier.
me to people who know your music. I think your story of breaking out really on TikTok. Take us through that a little bit, because you must have paid some heavy dues before that.
I didn't plan on being a musician at all. I was always creative, voted most artistic in high school, visual art, but then I would do like covers.
You're from Oklahoma City.
Yeah, from Oklahoma. But I had a YouTube channel where I would do cover songs, put them up. No one in my school knew I was doing that.
What kind of covers were you doing?
Oh, like just whatever song I liked, but a lot of like...
But music of the day, not old stuff.
Yeah, kind of emo songs. Like I covered Brand New, Bright Eyes. There's a Scandinavian artist, Licky Lee, I love. Just whatever lyrics like I related to. And then when I was going to college, I never thought, oh, I can be a musician. Like, although that was like a secret passion of mine, it was never like, I want to be on stage. Never had that dream. So I made a little collection of CDs with my recordings on it that I sold to raise money for college. But I went to an art school, and my dad is an engineer, and he was like, you should do a real, thing. So I said, oh, instead of graphic design, I'll do web coding, programming. And I thought,
That's sexy.
Yeah, well, it's not actually at all. When you actually do it, you realize you have to be in a dark room.
I was being facetious.
Oh. I mean,
I was saying it's not
I
sexy.
think coding is sexy in movies.
Oh.
Hacking the mainframe.
Okay.
But like my plan was, okay, work for a record label and help other musicians, because I still loved music. And then,
But never like, oh, I'm going to go be the artist.
No, and I think in Oklahoma, like there were local bands, but I just didn't see that. And also I was terrified of performing live. Like I was not a theater kid. I did a talent show, terrifying. And then I started putting music up on SoundCloud, and I put up a single on Spotify in 2015. So I was like, maybe like 21 or something. And I got an email from a record label that said, heard your song, would love to have a meeting. And it was a major record label. That email, I went to my college and I said, I would like to take a leave of absence. I'm being signed to the music industry, having no idea how it worked.
Right.
And then,
Was there anybody in your life at that time that you could call or show the email to and say, hey, what do I do with this? Did you have any?
Really? There was like an older kid in my college that he went with me to Guitar Center to buy me a microphone and was kind of showing me Ableton, and I started producing music. But I would just sing over random EDM tracks. And on SoundCloud, there would always be, it was way more social than I would sing on random producers' instrumentals. But
Top lining.
Yeah. But I had no idea how it worked. And then obviously that email led to nothing. I dropped out of school. No, there was no meeting. They were just saying they liked my music and but it did put a light bulb in that oh, I do like making music.
And you got psyched for a second. You were like, wow. Yeah, because you were getting acknowledged and you were getting props.
Yeah.
And that's a nice thing.
But and then, I brought in all of my art knowledge into making the single art, graphic designing, posters and t-shirts and all that. Burping like a lady. I'm so drunk right now.
It's the sparkling grapefruit juice.
That's my joke. Every time I drink water, I'm like, I need a drink. Yeah, so just on released independently for 6-7 years, and I had all these EDM songs that were doing really well, like millions and millions of plays, like 25 million plays, but no one followed me as an artist. So I kind of had to work backwards to be like, listen to my solo music, but I was still getting paid enough from those random features to like not have a other job.
Really?
Yeah. Other than I would graphic design, I was doing like posters for like
You were
local
making
shows.
enough money from those streams to like sustain yourself?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
But
interesting.
I was doing little side things. I had side hustles and stuff. And, you know, I started a vintage clothing resale business with my mom. So I got stuff from that.
So when this is all happening, you're still in Oklahoma?
No, I'm in New York.
Oh, you're in New York.
So, because when I was 18, I went to Pratt Institute. And then I just stayed in New York.
And are you collaborating with people? Are you meeting up with other musicians and producers?
I started to do that in New York, and that's when like there was more songwriters and producers there. They've all migrated here now.
Yeah.
But and I would, like you said, I work with so many people, but I would come into the session, especially because I did know how to produce much better now than I was. But I would have a song title idea, like production idea. So we would just make stuff. And I have like 160 songs on Spotify. So there's like a lot. And a lot of those are like random features and stuff that no one's looking at, hopefully.
So then what led to is Vices that really blew up, right?
So COVID happened. I was like 6 months sober or something.
In New York or here?
In here. No, I moved to LA right before.
Okay.
Went to go stay with my parents because, you know, it was the 2-week mandate.
Yeah.
Stay there for 6 months. And then, like, I was so bored at my parents' house. And also just being around my parents as a 24-year-old, I felt like I was regressing to my teenage, like, ways. So I would just make TikToks all day, every day, whatever.
Just to stay sane and sober.
Some really dumb stuff, too. Like, I dressed up as every horoscope sign one day. Don't know why. But then I, you know, when I got, like, right before Vices came out, which Vices I almost didn't want to put out because the lyrics were so specific of, like, if it's not drugs, it's drinks. If it's not drinks, it's things. I don't know. I just felt like I was like, this is just very personal to me. And I wrote it about how when I stopped drinking, I got addicted to other things.
Like?
A phone game.
Uh-huh.
But we don't talk about that. That's embarrassing.
Okay.
But Vices, you know, I'm replacing Vices with Vices. And
But nothing detrimental, right?
No, to my time, wasting my time. Yeah. But I celebrated my 1 year sober with a little cupcake and a candle. My mom's filming it. And I was like, this is so, like, depressing. Because I had big dreams of, like, my 1 year sober, I'm going to do this whole, like, thing. And I'm just at home. And then I got the mixes for my album. And that's when I filmed myself, like, reacting to, like, hearing them. And I was, like, crying, posted that, bam, overnight. I got, like, 100,000 followers and boom, boom, boom. And I was with a company, distributing through a company called AWOL at the time. I felt very in the lurch by them, where they were always like, we're going to help support you later, you know, later for the next song. And that song started doing really big numbers online, where it's like, you know, you get the comments of like, put this out now or else we'll forget about it. And I was like,
where specifically are you seeing this? On TikTok?
TikTok.
Yeah.
And everyone was at home at that point.
And when it's blowing up on TikTok, are you seeing it blow up on Spotify? And was it?
Well, it wasn't out yet.
It wasn't out yet.
And so they were telling me, wait for a month, build up hype, and then put it out a month later. And I said, look, I might be wrong about this, but I want to put it up this week. And like, because I was seeing those comments and I'd never had that much attention on me.
Was it one TikTok or did you do multiple?
It was one, but I
posts?
the one that did a lot, you know, that one TikTok contributed to hundreds of thousands of follows. But then I was still following up with like updates on the song, and I don't even want to look back at those videos. They're probably so embarrassing. But
they are now. Trust me on this. They are now, and in about 15 years, you'll love to look at them and show them to people. I'm doing the same thing with like old pictures of my mullet, which used to just mortify me.
Bring it back.
I could, but the true definition of a gentleman is a guy who could grow a mullet but chooses not to.
I love a mullet.
But my point is, it'll come back around where now I bring attention to those horrible old videos and the way I looked because it's hilarious.
Yeah. Well,
but you're in that place that I was in for 12 years where I was like, and if you would even mention a mullet or the drum sound on my first album, whatever, I'd get really sort of defensive and uncomfortable. Now I embrace that
TikTok
shit.
TikTok is hard because you post so many, like hundreds and hundreds of videos.
Especially you are so prolific.
Not anymore, but at that time, and I just told them, I was like, let's put it out by the end of the week. Bam, like first day, it gets 500,000 plays. And so I was right that like I should have done that. And then I really started to trust myself more of like, I'm glad I didn't listen to them. And then it was like this bidding war with all these major labels wanting to sign me. But I had been now like 6-7 years independent in the game where I was a little bit bitter about it. Cause I was like I got those emails when I first started and now it's like, I was just so afraid of what all my friends have been through or what I've heard of like, you sign to a major label, you don't do it well enough and you get dropped. And, you know, the president of the Republic calling me and being like, yeah, we'd like to sign you by the end of the week. Yep. Okay, well, like now, make the decision now. And I was just like, didn't have...
Whose last name is Lipman, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I didn't even have a manager, you know, like, or like lawyer or anything. And so, but I had already written the song Forever 15, which was about my suicide attempt. And I wanted to release it on the 10-year anniversary of that, which was like in 5 months or something from when this was happening. And all of these major labels were like, yeah, that would be a bit soon for us. So like maybe like you could push it back. And to me, it was just a sign like first of all, marketing wise, the 10-year anniversary makes sense.
Yeah.
But also like, if you're already telling me the timeline doesn't work, I was just like, I don't want to do this. So I stayed independent. And then
can we talk about the fact that was pretty, I mean, that couldn't have been as easy. Yeah, very bold, but I'm going to guess it wasn't as easy emotionally as it sounds like it was.
Because it was scary.
You had to have had that thought of like, what if this is the thing I'm supposed to do and I'm fucking it up? What if this is my one shot that
Well, all these major labels were signing these other TikTok mutual friends I had, and I would see they put out that one big song of theirs and then they were radio silent.
Yeah.
And so I was afraid because I'm very like put a lot out. And so I was like, I'm going to put as much energy into being an independent artist as I can. And I made my goal to chart #1 on the pop iTunes chart. So I was very deliberate of like, okay, I'm going to release the album on a Thursday instead of a Friday. So then tell all the fans like, blah, blah, buy it.
And at this point, what number followers are you looking at this point?
On TikTok, I had probably like 200,000 or 300,000, and I don't know what my Instagram was, but
did you have so you had the numbers to pull that off, right?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people are all at home too, and I was even selling T-shirts that I was bleaching in my backyard, and I sold like 3,000 that me, my mom, and dad were like bleaching them and just like crazy. It's like very bored, and like we made that album chart #1 on the pop iTunes chart for a day, and then Mariah Carey's anniversary.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, #1's #1.
Yeah, and so I got the little screenshot, and then like I started doing more like rock leaning covers. I did a Bring Me the Horizon remix. And then I had another round of labels coming to talk to me, but it was all rock labels.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, but I'm not even that rock. Like, I'm always like pop, but, you know, I'm tattoos, and I don't even know what lane I fit in. I just always say like dark pop.
Yeah.
You know, because they're smaller labels and there's not as much pressure to like have a radio hit. It was way more like easy to consider. But I was so scared again to like have like being independent for so long, have someone tell me you can't put this out or shelve me or whatever. The label I went with, which, you know, I am into moths, you know, MOTHICA. And I don't want to say this is the reason, but, you know, the owner of the label was like, my mom raises moths. Do you want some Luna moth caterpillars?
Okay. So you had to be like, okay, that's just too random.
Yes.
I mean, if I had a nickel for every time I heard a sentence like that, I would now have a nickel.
Yes. And, you know, in my album Nocturnal, like the Luna moth was the moth of, you know, and so I was like,
which, by the way, it's super cool to genuinely have, and you got to tell me, even though I know a little bit about it, but it's worth telling about how you became fascinated with moths, and right? But to have something that you're identified with as an artist, like Prince with purple, or you know, these little things that. So, how did this all start?
Well,
that led to your name?
MOTHICA, the name came way before the music. So it was like when I was in high school, in my debauchery, bad teenager years, doing bad things. I had a sleepover, and we would stayed up all night, like a tent in my backyard, my parents' backyard. And I remember like seeing these moths running into a lamppost. And at the time, you know, I'm like depressed, I'm like suicidal and stuff. And I'm like, I feel like I was a moth in a past life because they're nocturnal.
You identified with
that.
them.
And they're like self-destructive.
Did you forgive me if this is a rude question. I don't think it's rude, but I don't know why I'm even hesitating asking it. Do you think you had that epiphany or that thought because you were high or because it was legit?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like something that I would think of when I was stoned.
Yeah. So probably I wouldn't be thinking I was a moth in a past life completely sober. But, you know, I do have a kinship to them. And like, you know, butterflies is like, you know, everyone loves butterflies. Yeah. But moths were always like the underrated, like, you know, dingy color.
The gutter butterflies.
Gutterflies. Never heard of that. So my friend, she wanted to be a mortician. And so we'd like do a little dress up and like wear black lipstick and stuff. And she's like, I'm Gothica, you're Mothica. So I started going by that on like Instagram and Twitter and before I made music. And when I made music, I was like, I need a name. And I tried a bunch of different names. And Mothica was already like what I had. And like conveniently, I do love moths.
Yeah.
And it's...
Did you trademark it immediately?
Not immediately.
But you have.
I have now. Yeah.
Does everybody call you Mothica?
In a music setting.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No nicknames? Mothy?
Oh, my fans call me Big Moth.
Big Moth. And what do you call your fans? What are Mothica fans called?
I call them Mothlings. So at least in the Discord, I'm...
Not Mothicans? Which sounds like moccasins with a... Moccasins?
Well, I was like, what? Because, you know, a group of moths is called an eclipse.
Oh.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
But it's weird to be like, oh, are you an eclipser? Like I don't know. It's like, doesn't really have a ring. So I was like, moth wings, caterpillars. Ugh, no, I hate that. But like one of my fans gave me this little bracelet that says Mothlings love you. So I wear that.
Yeah.
And but I'm strictly talking the Discord. When I show up, they go, Big Moth is here. You know.
Don't you have a tattoo of the lamppost and the moths?
Oh yeah, I do, right here. So that was like kind of the symbol of like
Oh yeah.
when I
Wow, that's gorgeous.
yeah. And then I have like 7 moth tattoos,
Yeah.
and probably will get more.
By the way, I'm not asking, even though now, we've met twice
Yeah.
now, so I feel like we have a bond. I just want you to know, I'm going online to get some swag because I need, like, especially for when I'm doing summer shows, like I'm doing a show in a couple of weeks outdoors, and it might be the perfect place to bust out a MOTHICA t-shirt with the sleeves cut off.
You gotta wait till I have my new line.
I'm not gonna wait.
Do you wear a lot of, what do you wear on stage, black or light colors?
Both. Depends on my mood that day. But I've been, as an old man, I've been really concentrating on fitness and working out. So I've gotten to the point where, as a reward to myself for all the hard work, when I go on stage now, I wear, like, if it's a t-shirt, I cut it off, show off the guns. So I want to wear a MOTHICA t-shirt.
I have a new one coming out I should give you because I'm making a non-alcoholic beer.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
That's genius. Called?
So it's my next song. It's called Mirage.
Is it part of the visual album?
Yeah. So I made fake beer labels in the video, and then I found a brewery that was willing to make the non-alcoholic beer.
Wow. So
But
are
it'll
they
be
gonna like,
cans.
are they a big company where they can help with sponsorship and?
Well, they're like, they're just a non-alcoholic brewery that does so many different types of like IPA and blood orange, and we did a little taste test. They even do a whiskey and
Right.
And so
But you partnered with them.
so it's like,
Will they be in like Bevmo and?
oh no, it'll just be like sold at on my store.
Gotta think bigger than that.
I know.
Gotta get that shit in Total Wine.
Yeah, that'd be rad. I mean, I'm gonna do an event at Sassafras Saloon because it was kind of a Western video, and so it's called like Mirage Reaper Pilsner, and it has like the Grim Reaper on it.
Nice.
Looks way more hardcore.
Before we leave the TikTok discussion, I'm really fascinated by, just your commitment to it, which is what led you to my house to begin with, because you were so good at and are so good at it. And like I said, you were gracious enough to give me some pointers. But I'm curious now, in 2024, how much attention do you give each platform that you're on? Because you're on Instagram and you have a YouTube channel, I'm sure, right? So how do you, because it seems like, do you have a manager now?
Yeah.
Okay, but up until very recently, you were still just a one-woman shop,
Oh
right?
yeah. I was like managerless for like a year and a half. But
So how do you determine the amount of time you're gonna invest and devote to each platform, and do you split it up evenly, or how does that work for you?
I mean, I've been really slacking on doing it in the last few months, but it was for me always just like on a whim, self-motivated. Whenever I had an idea, I'd do it right then and there, post it. And like, I tried to like do stuff in advance and like schedule it out, but it's just like you lose the excitement of it.
Do you ever pay attention to what's trending and try to jump on any of that stuff?
Whenever I'm like about to do another video, I'll see what's popular, what sounds, or you see if there's a sound I can use or something. But it's really the most like you Wild West of you have no idea what's gonna do well. So it's like a mix of like, music related promo, which usually does terribly, and then like really dumb videos. Like I showed you the video of me in a clown themed hotel room. That got 9 million views.
Yeah.
Clip from my music video, no one cares.
Yeah.
Or one I showed a BTS of how we made a 10-person crowd look bigger. Like that one did a lot of numbers, but then I got a lot of hate comments like, yeah, of course no one came to your show. I'm like, it's a music video.
Yeah, exactly.
They were extras.
Isn't it amazing how everybody has these haters?
Yeah.
Well, that leads me to another question about social media, which is, given your history with struggling emotionally, especially as a young lady,
Yeah.
I don't think personally, I'll speak for myself. The insecurities that I had when I was a kid, I still have.
Really?
I mean, I deal with them in a way that I didn't know how to deal with them then, but they still exist for me. And it's very easy for something really random to put in my head. It'll make me feel, even for a second, the way I felt when I was a kid about the things that I'm insecure about.
Do other people like say something that will trigger that?
Yeah. And I'm
in comments or what?
Yeah, sometimes. But I mean, in general. But I've spent my life as an artist, like getting, savaged by critics. I was voted worst male singer in Rolling Stone.
Really?
Yeah, by the critics. The same year that I was voted best male singer by the readers of Rolling Stone. So, just imagine though, you wake up, you're having hit records. It's all working. You're playing to thousands and thousands of people. You're doing what you love. And then somebody says to you, this poll, they did a critics poll in Rolling Stone, and you were voted worst male singer of the year. And I remember even having I was 24, 25.
Who did they vote as the best for the critics?
Oh, I don't remember actually, but I think it was someone whose music I might have liked or appreciated artistically, but nobody that, as a vocalist. That's the thing that kind of, even at my young age, I kind of understood. I was like, oh, wait, I get this now. They just don't like what I do. They don't like, because as cocky as this is going to sound, saying like Richard Marx's music is the worst of the year, or his songs are the sappiest, or they're too commercial, or all that stuff, that might be fair enough. That's your opinion. But the people who said I was a bad singer, it's just factually incorrect. I'm a really good singer. I've always been there are people who are really, really great at what they do, who I don't like. I don't like but I can't say that they're not good.
Yeah.
It was just the most childish, sort of ignorant thing. And I processed it in the way that I did, but it still really kind of made me feel shitty. I don't get so much insecure about stuff when it comes to my work.
That's good.
It's all stupid personal shit.
It's always like, to me, what will get to me is like, I'll have physical insecurities.
Yeah,
and
me too.
People on the internet will find those things
Of
that
course.
you don't want anyone to point out.
Or they'll suggest things that you never thought about until that moment.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, great. Now I have a new insecurity unlocked. But I just kind of stopped, when Vices was doing well, I was even going live on TikTok, like almost every day. I was in a Zoom group, like a Zoom live chat, that the fans, there was like 20 people who kept it going for like weeks, and they all became friends from that. But like, I was interacting with fans so much that it was like really, like, I was like, is this like what I have to do to like, is this my new life? And it was really stressful because people would like send me like really long messages of just really like heartfelt and like traumatizing stories, and I'm like absorbing it all. And I was like, I can't live like that. So I kind of now have more of a separation of like, you don't want people to expect me to like respond to everything.
Right.
But also, if a video does well, I know there's going to be some comment in there that's so mean.
Yeah.
So I just stay away.
So that's how you don't let your experience with emotional issues or insecurities stop you from just forging ahead.
Yeah. And I mean, I even but it was weird because I had a social media following, which a lot of people are saying, TikTok artist, blah, blah, blah. You're great for a TikTok artist. Not
Whatever
knowing I was
means,
doing music independently for years before, but I was kind of lumped in as like a TikTok musician. And it was kind of annoying, but also I was like, whatever, if that's how you found me, that's great.
Right.
Because all I wanted was to be discovered by the people that want to find me. So a lot of people will come up to me like, I'm an OG fan. I found you in 2020. Like, oh, thank you. I was like, I was putting out music 5 years before that.
Yeah.
So those people, when they come up to me, I'm like, whoa, you've really stuck around.
Well, and now leading
Yeah.
to what you're doing on this next album is, I mean, it's been done a couple of times, but it's
A lot. Yeah.
Has it really been done a lot?
I mean,
So what we're talking about is a completely visual. Every
Visual
track is a
album.
visual track,
Yeah.
right? So first of all, how much did it cost? You don't have to give me a number, but it was like that had to be an expensive.
it's the world's cheapest visual album.
Well, but I've seen like you've
That's how I
even given
pitched
us
it.
a little peek behind the curtain, as they say, with figuring out how to get these really cool effects in your videos on
Yeah.
like for $5.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, because I was hustling a lot of that like production because I wanted to do a cohesive storyline, and I'd seen Halsey's, Melanie Martinez, Beyonce, watch all those visual albums, and I'm like, these are like real budgets. I don't have that. So I would need a vintage red car. It's gonna be a few $1,000s to rent from this person. I saw a vintage red car outside my friend's house. I left a Post-it note on it. And that guy was a bartender, and he was like, yeah, sure, you can rent it for much less.
Yeah.
And so I was doing all these little, I was like, I'm gonna make this happen.
Making it happen.
Yeah. And now, after doing that, and then it's not even, halfway out yet, it's like, I'm never going to do that again
Really?
until I have a real budget. But it was a great learning
Still,
experience.
props, because
Yeah.
it's exciting.
Well, it's hard to convince music industry people that music videos are worth it anymore.
Well, but I don't know about that, because yeah, maybe the payoff because people are not going to spend 3.5 minutes watching a video usually. But even just what you've done is you've created so many opportunities for social media clips and for the little quick bites, the little 5 seconds, 7 seconds, which is really what your feed has been lately.
Yeah.
But again, it's like I was playing some of these clips for my wife last night, and she loves. She and I both love artists like we're both huge Tovlo fans.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, me too. So, for example, Daisy, my wife, turned me on to Habits, when it was first just getting played, before it was a hit. And we became obsessed with her to
Have
this
you seen
day.
her music videos?
Yeah. I mean, some of them are just so amazing. The one for How Long, do you know that one, that track? That was a more recent track. But I was flipping through your feed last night, just showing Daisy some of your stuff, and she was going, I knew she would like it, but she just became like, oh my God, I have to listen to everything now.
That's
So even though you're looking at a bigger project with this visual album, you're also feeding that beast, knowing that you can just take 7 seconds of that one and 10 seconds of that one.
And I should be doing more of that, for sure. That was the intention of also everything is all singles based now.
Yeah.
And I'm making an album, so to make a video for each one gives each song a moment.
Yep.
And to shine. So that was one way I pitched it. But it's very involved to edit a cohesive storyline. And I was inspired by a very weird German show that jumps timelines. So now I'm does this make sense to anyone? But I kind of put Easter eggs in for the fans that really care. And then, I'm doing it for those people. But then if you have no idea who I am, you don't have to dig in that deep and know the lore or the inside jokes or whatever.
I love that
is
you
in there.
recreated your childhood bedroom.
Oh yeah, that was very weird.
But it's your child. If that really is an accurate representation of what your
is.
childhood bed, how old are we talking?
I was that was supposed to be 2009, so when I was 14.
Yeah.
And my mom had saved so much
It's
stuff.
a trip. It's a trip.
Yeah.
Even just the photograph of it is sort of wow.
And then my friend, played young me. And it was funny because she just was in my friend group. And I was looking at her and I was like, you kind of look like me. But I gave her brown contacts, a wig. And she's playing a 14-year-old, but she's 27.
Oh, wow.
Your skin is great.
Yeah.
But my mom was like, just play yourself. And I was like, with all my tattoos, like, no, I don't want to play angsty emo me. But my mom was there, you know, and it was just like funny to like, you know, she's like throwing a little tantrum in the video. And it was like that's how I was, just like going to Warped Tour and skate parks and like just rebelling against my parents.
Yeah, that was your job at that time. So this comes out, the whole album comes out when?
August 23rd.
Oh, so pretty soon.
Yeah.
And you're touring, you're going to Europe, right?
Yeah.
Your first headlining tour?
First headline tours and 2 weeks in Europe.
What's your relationship like with touring and performing live now?
I mean, it's very new. Scary.
Still scary?
Yeah, I mean, like the first show I ever played, I got off stage and I was like, everyone there was making fun of me. They're clapping for me, ironically. You know, I was like, this was terrible. I'm never going to do that ever again. But I was also just playing tracks off a laptop and singing, like karaoke. So when I got a band, it felt better, but I still like didn't have that natural like charisma on stage. And my friend who was in a band was like, you got to play 100 shows. I was like, 100 shows? How can anyone play that many shows? That's so, you know, and like he was right. Like 150, 200 shows is when I finally found what works for me on stage, which is like saying my dumb jokes in between songs, like doing my speech, I do.
When you get a laugh, when you get a real laugh in between a song, in between two songs.
Yeah.
Have you reached the point where I've been here now for years? When I come off stage every night, I judge how the show went by the laughs.
Really?
Yeah, because I talk a lot in between the show.
Yeah.
In between songs. In fact, I always say that my show is what happens in between the songs. Because I feel good about the music, and I'm lucky that I have songs I can play that people know, that they came to hear, right? Like even you do as well.
Yeah.
But if I make them laugh, like genuinely laugh, that to me is how I go to sleep going, I fucking nailed it.
Yeah. Well, I think someone said like rock stars want to be comedians, comedians want to be rock stars.
Yeah, there's also athletes, there's that too, but
I don't think about those
no.
sports.
No.
You're not allowed to talk about sports on tour. That's my only rule.
Oh, good for you. Yeah, well, you wouldn't have any argument for me. I used to be a big sports fan and I just gave it all up years ago. I don't give a shit.
But yeah, no, like, cause I would do all these little, you know, kind of have a plan for my speech. And in Europe though, they don't laugh at my jokes at all. Paris, silence. But then they bought a lot of merch and seemed to like me. So yeah, I was like, okay, in Europe, I'm going to talk less. Maybe there's a language barrier.
Well, there is sometimes, especially when it comes to humor.
Yeah.
But I bet in the UK, they get that. They think that there's a similar sense of humor.
For sure.
Australia, like the English-speaking countries.
Never been to Australia.
Oh, they would love you in Australia.
Yeah, too long of a flight for me.
No, you have to go. They're best fans. They're amazing fans. Amazing.
No, I definitely have a lot of fans there and I want to go, but it's just like...
I would think you would have a great following in Southeast Asia too.
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, you gotta look into that.
Yeah.
Go everywhere. You should go everywhere.
Well, that's the thing is like the first night of the few tours I've done have been that feeling of like, oh God, I hate this. I can never do this again. This is terrible. And then I get like 3 shows in and I start having fun.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of like losing my sense of control. Cause like you just never know what's gonna happen. You're gonna show up to the venue.
The magic of it though.
Yeah, it's like that part is hard to just be completely like your whole day and your whole life is literally centered around, well, when you're opening, a 30-minute set.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. You
but
can't
like
do
for
anything
instance,
else.
I saw a clip from, I guess it was from Wembley. You were opening for tell me again?
Hailstorm?
Hailstorm. And was it Doomed you were doing?
Yeah.
Where everybody...
No, not Doomed. The sister song, Forever 15.
Forever 15,
yeah.
right, I'm sorry. And you posted a clip of thousands and thousands of people holding up their phones and doing the lighter thing. So my question is, can you remember in that moment, because it was recently, were you in the moment when that happened? Could you really be in the moment? Because I couldn't really be in the moment when I was younger. It took me years of touring to really like feel that love and accept it without thinking about what's the next song or the performance of it, rather than just as a human being standing there going, holy fucking shit, I can't believe this is happening right now. No matter how many times it happens, you get to a point where if you really can be in the moment, that's why I'm asking if you felt like you were, because if you weren't,
that show.
I can't wait for you to be in that moment.
No, there was another show I played, Budapest, where, you know, I don't tell them to put the lights up, or sometimes I try to, but that one I literally started sobbing, crying, and there was like someone in the front row with a sign like, you saved my life, and it just like really got to me. But at Wembley, which was 10,000 people, and there was all the pressure around that show, and I'd dreamt about it and thought about it in my head, and also I was in 2 corsets, so I could not breathe. Like that show, although it looks so amazing, like I was not fully, like I wasn't like, this was a great show.
You got through it.
Yeah, but other even smaller shows or random ones, like I will feel that, but I have to really, especially playing a sad song, I have to really like cut myself off emotionally.
Yeah.
Because I will cry. And when you cry, you don't sound good singing.
No, you don't. But sometimes you have to like,
yeah,
sometimes you have to really let yourself feel that thing that we get to do. And so many musicians and performers particularly, I notice, they either haven't been doing it long enough to really get to the place where they can let those feelings happen. But more than ever, every single night I go on a stage, I'm aware that I'm giving whoever is there a chance to take their mind off their life for 2 hours. It's so important. I used to poo-poo it and be like, I mean, we're not doctors, we're not firemen. I just write songs and jump around the stage. Yeah, I love what I do and I'm committed to it and I'm proud of what I do. But I didn't really look at it until maybe since the pandemic, really, where I really started to realize what we get to do for people. It's pretty humbling.
It is, and like even for me, like, cause people are like, how do you sing these songs about such like, horrible things or like difficult times? Cause like now I sing it as like a song and I know I'm singing it for the audience, you know, I'm not really reliving it in my head. And I'll come off stage being all like post-show high, excited. But then, my meet and greets, people are coming up to me fully sobbing. Yeah. Fathers sobbing. Like I've hugged so many crying dads being like, I want my daughter to listen to your music. Like she's going through a hard time. And that's when I like kind of start putting on this like, I'm just here for you.
Well, it's kind of thing. I mean, I don't mean it to sound self-congratulatory for us, but it's taken decades for me to realize how important it is.
Yeah.
To be able to make a connection with people you've never met and probably never will meet. But it's the same thing. I'm sure that when you were younger, or even now, to this day, I still hear songs sometimes that just fucking wreck me.
They absolutely ask what
wreck me.
musicians you would like listen to that you were like idolized or.
Well, there were people I idolized who, like Peter Gabriel, I idolized. I've actually got a gift for you by, I'll give it to you now. Every episode I give a piece of vinyl to my guest. And I thought, and this is from my own, I have tons of vinyl from when I was a kid. And this is probably my second favorite singer of all time. My favorite singer in the world of all time was Sam Cooke. This is my second favorite, and he's lesser famous, but his name was Donny Hathaway. He committed suicide. He jumped out of a building in New York City at the peak of his career.
Recorded at the Troubadour.
Just because I thought, I guessed that you wouldn't really know him. So for me to have the opportunity to maybe introduce you to Donny Hathaway would be something I feel is worthy.
Well, I should have brought you my record.
Well, you'll send it to me, along with the T-shirt maybe. But I'm still gonna buy it on mine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, like I think about when I was a teenager and song lyrics specifically, like that I like would write down in my journal or like would get tattooed or like made me view my life in a different way. Like it's hard for me to imagine that other people are doing that with me, but that's how I kind of try to like think about it. Cause there's musicians that like Ricky Lee or whatever that I was like, well, then I, you know, they say never meet your idols or whatever.
Depends.
But,
I've met some of mine they exceeded my expectations.
that was great. Still haven't met her, but
Who would you go ape shit if they walked into the room right now?
Haley Williams from Paramore, Gerard Way.
Whoa, Haley, come on in. Wait, Haley and who?
Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I used to like have dreams of like, I don't know, making a song with them, but I think now I've just become like, I want to just like get coffee with someone or like Halsey. Like I would love to just have a conversation.
I'm a huge Halsey fan too.
With these artists, and it doesn't have to be transactional or like we do something together.
Yeah.
You know?
I think when you ask me about my influences or what I listen to, whatever, when I hear, like when I heard Doomed, for example, and I had to listen to it like 4 times in a row. And I heard my son, all 3 of my sons are incredible singer-songwriter musicians. My middle son, Lucas, has a friend named Will J, who doesn't really have a big following, but he's one of my son's pals. And we were talking about his friend Will. I've never met him. And Lucas said, can I play you a song he recorded a couple of years ago? And he played me this song, and I got really emotional.
Wow.
Because it's called By Now. And the chorus is, I should have been somebody by now. Oh. And it's about a young guy who everybody said, you're gonna be big, you're gonna be huge, you're gonna get a record deal, and none of those things have really happened for him. But he has a following, but then to put it out there like that, and to be as vulnerable as he was, and his singing is phenomenal. I got really, really emotional. And I could tell my son was thrilled that I loved it so much, but I was thrilled that at almost 61 years old, some young artist like you or will write something that I go, because that's like heroin for me.
Yeah.
I need other people to keep inspiring me, to keep writing music that makes me humbled, you know? So.
Wow. Is that song released?
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Yeah,
I mean, you
I'll
can't
send it
relate to that song because you're already somebody.
Well, not in exactly the same way, but I was that.
But the emotion of it.
I felt that.
No, that happened to me with it's a huge song, Lord Huron.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, now I'm blanking on the song name.
No, I mean, amazing catalog.
I was listening to it really late at night, and at the time I couldn't relate to it, but I literally went and bought the lyrics on Etsy.
Oh, wow.
That night, just emo, 2 a.m. And I was like, wow, like those will still hit me. But it's always like the really like emotional, sad songs. But then it's like, I really kind of hate performing those to some extent.
Yeah.
Because I get a little bit jealous of my friends who just make really fun songs. And their whole thing is just like backup dancers. Like crazy stage production. Like, I mean, I don't know, Katy Perry. Like you can be in a cupcake. Like I can't do that and sing about wanting to kill myself.
But you could do both.
I could do both, and that would
really
be
nobody.
unique.
There's no one that comes to mind who really kind of does both. Although Peter Gabriel, for example, in his, especially I think he's touring again, but Peter Gabriel is responsible for one of the most fun songs ever called Sledgehammer. And one of the most fun videos, claymation videos in the 80s. And then on that same album, there are songs like Don't Give Up and Mercy Street that will bring you to tears.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the goal is to try to click all those.
Do both. Ooh.
Check all those boxes. But I'm so excited for you. What's the name of the visual album?
It's called Kissing Death. It's a dark romantic comedy.
So it's a Friday night uplifting.
Yeah, no,
Party.
it's surreal. It's the Grim Reaper is basically my ex-boyfriend who
I've seen
keeps
the visuals.
stalking me.
Super cool.
And yes, I mean, it's a big metaphor for like how I romanticized death. And then as I got older, like I had a fear of it. So instead of giving everyone an existential crisis, I was like, why don't I just make him a character where it's like this funny thing where he's just like, you know, the last video, he's like watching me in my home and he's like leaving me flowers and proposing to me. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
So it's only half out. Well, by the time this is out, it'll be out.
Probably, yeah, August 23rd.
Yeah. So this will be after it comes out. So you can go get it now.
Yeah.
Kissing Death by MOTHICA.
Yes.
And this was really fun for me. I hope it was
Yay.
fun for you too.
I'm so drunk.
Thank you again.
Thank you.